right now, and organizations that have long-standing agreements with First Nations in Canada have a lot of explaining to do in terms of rectifying the situation. One of the intentions of the International Indigenous Call to Action for June 24th is to, that day is meant to act as one of the days that will provide that kind of catalyst moment to continue to build solidarity amongst, frontline Indigenous communities that are fighting, in many cases, the same corporations that are working in partnership with the federal government of Canada and with provincial governments within Canada, to continue to push unsustainable development that's, causing human and ecological health crises in our territories and violating our fundamental human rights. For us, this is part of a long-term strategic plan in Canada to mobilize First Nations and other Aboriginal groups to redefine, our movement for this generation. We've had many, many successes over the last 100 years, and I think that, as we see, great polarity in terms of, wealth and power and the oppressed and the poor, we have to come up with complex, multi-pronged approaches that empower, communities that have been historically marginalized, including our own Indigenous nations. And so the G20 mobilization is part of an ongoing strategy that's being brought forward by grassroots people through the Defenders of the Land Network, which IEN supports, to call out world leaders and to call out Canada on the world stage, to say that Indigenous peoples in Canada will not stand for these neoliberal economic and trade policies that, say it's okay to sacrifice our way of life and our fundamental human rights just so that Canada can continue to expand its GDP and continue to, essentially be a resource colony to the military superpower of the United States of America. And so, we're going to continue to, mobilize through the G20, after the G20, and, and call out the Harper minority government, and their failure to protect their own citizens.
Clayton Thomas-Müller is with the Indigenous Environmental Network. He was speaking to Democracy Now!'s Mike Burke at the Social Forum, the U.S. Social Forum in Detroit. This is Democracy Now!, and we're broadcasting from Toronto, Canada, where the G8 and the G20 summit meetings are happening. World leaders are coming in. When we come back, we're going to look at the crackdown, unprecedented regulations on speech. We'll talk about that in a minute.